Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow, and welcome to everybody's favorite videos, a Russian typical supermarket walk around. And I found one for you that's brand new, that literally opened a few days ago, and we're gonna go check it out together. I think from my calculations, they open a new shopping center just about every week, and this one opened not too long ago, literally a few days ago. And I wasn't able to get here for the opening, but I'm here a few days later. And this is Solntsevo Meeting Place. Now they're going away from calling them shopping malls or shopping centers. And this place is absolutely brand new. And there isn't that many shops open. However, what we want to go and see is a very Russian typical supermarket. And it's in the lower ground floor. We're going to head in there and check it out. Let's have a look at the special opening hours. Now it's actually open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is very typical of the opening hours of all shopping centers in Russia. However, there is the Russian McDonald's here, Kuzna и Точка, and it's actually open from 7 a.m. till midnight. And they do briefly close for cleaning at 4 a.m. And like we might have seen on the last few videos at the shopping malls, you can't bring your wine glasses inside. So ladies, if you're planning to drink wine while you're shopping, leave them at home if you're here in Russia. I am very much in the suburbs of Moscow today. I'm in a place called Solntsevo. And actually I took the train here and I walked around about 10 minutes to get to this shopping center. It is literally brand new. And I'm sure all the residents of these buildings are very happy that there is a new shopping center and a new supermarket that's opened. There is a very nice park and pond right behind the shopping center as well. But we are very much in the Moscow suburbs right here. If anybody knows Solntsevo, let me know in the comments. The supermarket we want to go visit is called Magnit. And this is absolutely as typical as they come in Russia. There is more than 20,000 of these supermarkets in all of Russia. I don't think there'll be a single Russian person that has never been to a Magnit before or doesn't know this brand. They're on the lower ground floor. So let's get down there. What is also very typical when you come to a brand new shopping center in Russia, and the fact that they're opening them so quickly at the moment, is they tend to open them with only a few businesses ready and finished. Now this is actually a 3-level shopping mall, but the upper levels are not open. So I imagine most of the shops are still doing their build-outs for them to eventually open. But of the whole shopping center, there's only about 10 businesses here, and one of them being the Russian McDonald's. And if you want to see me do a tour of a Kuzna и Точка, let me know in the comments. Maybe you want to see a follow-up video to how it is now, 2 years later. The actual reason I really wanted to come here is to see a brand new Magnit supermarket. It's very rare you actually get to visit one that is new or brand new. And very typically, wherever you might live in Russia, like where I live in my town, the store is quite old. They haven't updated it in a long time. They're known to be not particularly beautiful stores. So I'm curious what a brand new one is going to look like. The most common way to know that you're in a brand new business is to see all of the balloons. And I've commented on this many times before that one of the richest men in Russia, or perhaps ladies, is the person who supplies balloons to all of the shops that open new throughout the whole country. Now I've not actually walked in here before, so we're going to do this together and we're going to have a look at the store in one walk around, hopefully. And so far, very typical looking. Now, every single Magnit that you go to is slightly different based on the floor space, based on the location, whether it might be in an underground basement of a building or on a standalone shop or in a shopping center. So there's no two the same. So how they decide their layout really is depicted by the floor space they have. And let's have a look. So they have metal shopping baskets. Now, they've got two sizes. So there's this regular size one, and there's a little kids one right here. Now the actual normal baskets are about, I'm going to say, 3/4 the size of a traditional one that you would get, say, in Australia or in America. And then the more common way to shop is to use the hand baskets. And that's absolutely normal. There's a poster here with all of the specials. And then some of the ones where you can use your card to get points as well. Now, very normally in most Magnits, they've always got fruit and vegetables right out the front. And this is no different. They do actually have a meat fridge in the very entrance though, which is not so common. Normally the meats are at the back. Perhaps they're trying something different or some specials. They also have some canned and jarred food here. A little bit of everything on these stands. So if you want some pickled vegetables. Now, canned food is very limited to corn, peas, and then sometimes olives. And that's about it for canned food. Actually, tuna and salmon is probably the only other thing. Let's have a look what the current fruit offerings are. Now, we're still in stone fruit season. So things like peaches, plums, nectarines are a big deal. And slowly, we're getting ready for grape season. And hopefully the grapes will come down a little bit in price. Depending on the season in Russia, prices will increase and decrease. You can still get things year round, but when you're buying them out of season, naturally they're a little bit more expensive. On this side, all of the traditional vegetables. And then we can see there is lots of different leaf vegetables in the fridge right here. There's also some nuts, which you actually get by weight. And then apples. There's also mangoes as well. So no matter when you come to a shop in Russia, you can get out of season fruit no matter where you live. Where I live in Moscow region, we actually have 2 Magnits, and one of them is actually quite nice and well presented and arranged. And the second one is what I would call a bit of a shambles. And as a person that's worked in supermarkets for quite a few years and in retail, it really bothers me to go in there shopping. However, because it's close to where I live, it's an easy place to go shopping. And I go there also because they've got very good prices. Magnit's known for having nice low prices. And this is really considered a mid-level supermarket. There's definitely a few that would be underneath this brand and a few that are on top. Now, originally, going back around about 10 or 15 years ago, this was the largest retailer in Russia. And they've slowly been overtaken by a company called X5 Group, who have opened different store names under one umbrella. So Magnit is trailing behind a little bit. However, most people where they live in Russia, there's still a local Magnit where they live and can go shopping there. You can see all of the dairy items, lots of yogurts and the eggs. And I was hoping to show you the price of eggs, but there's no signs on any of them. And this is the other thing that bothers me in Russia, is there's no signs on everything. And particularly in Magnits, they don't keep up with their signing policies of making sure there's a ticket on every item. However, what have we got? So the fairly classic eggs, I think right here at 112 rubles. So just about $1.20 for a pack of 10 eggs. I don't see any under 100 rubles, which is more common. So I'm not sure, maybe they've got a different brand here. Or maybe this one right here might be the cheaper one. All of the long life milk. Carton of milk, about the same price. Now, in terms of pricing, I don't tend to do that in videos. You can maybe work it out yourself. Just about 100 rubles is $1 US. So that's an easy way to judge. If you see anything for less than 100 rubles, it's under $1. Anybody likes coconut milk? I know my wife likes it. I'm not a big fan. So there is a very big egg stand here. And I think because they put one ticket on one section, they don't need to put it on the other 2 sections. But it's okay, you can figure them out eventually. In case anybody's going to jump in the comments and say there's no shoppers in here, I am here on a Friday early afternoon. This is a working day, it's a school day. This is a suburban area where I am, so I really don't expect too many people to be in the shop as I'm walking around. You know, generally most people are working traditional 9 to 5 hours, and then a lot of people would shop on the weekends or later in the evening. So if you're wondering where all the shoppers are, there are some in here, but not too many. The one nice thing with coming to a brand new store is you get to see their full assortment. The one where I live is much smaller, so they have a reduced selection. So they do have some meats right here. Now it does look like they've actually put pretty much all of their dairy items that are in back stock on the shelves because they probably don't have room out the back. The fact that it opened a few days ago, they'll be battling for space. So eventually, probably in the next week or two, it'll start looking a lot cleaner and tidier. Lots of flavors of mayonnaise and pickled cabbage, pickled carrots. Very popular with salads here. Now, very typically, most people would go to a butcher's or a standalone shop to buy meats, and it's not probably as popular to buy meats in a supermarket like this, although they do have some. The nice thing is they've got a butcher or somebody that will actually prepare what you want by weight. So if you prefer not to get packaged items, you can get things by weight instead. There is some prepared food here, which is nice. So if you need some ready cooked food for lunch or dinner, you're good to go. As always, sausages, meats, salamis are hugely popular, and this supermarket's no different. There's lots to choose from. I was in Moscow with a friend a few days ago who is visiting from Australia, and he pointed out that there's still Heinz on the shelf, and there definitely is, along with other Russian brands of sauces. But you can definitely get a pack of Heinz. The more common way to buy it is these squeezy type containers, how they do the mayonnaise. So again, about $1 or so for a container of it. Lots of types of sausage. There's even some, I think this might be salo down here, which is basically like a fat. I'm not always up on every type of meat that I look at, and I'm sure someone will correct me. However, plenty of choices. I just noticed a Spanish flag there on one of them. Authentically Spanish, it says. So there is a lot of domestic products, and you'll still find imported products even in this type of store. All of the different seafoods and things that are marinated as well. You can get the small shrimps and mussels right there, and lots of crab meats. This is hugely popular in Russia, and my wife and I love this stuff. Being that it's the middle of the day, of course there's going to be parts of the shop where they're doing refilling and replenishing, and that's pretty normal anywhere you go in the world. We can't always have perfect supermarkets. I think that's very difficult. However, this store is super nice as I'm walking around. It makes me want to come shopping here rather than my local Magnit. Lots of choices of pasta, and then different rices. And then there is some other wheat and oatmeal items right here as well. They seem to keep them always together. If there wasn't enough salamis and hams in the regular fridge, you can also buy it by weight here, so they can actually cut an amount that you might want. And the same with cheeses, so you'll see the big blocks. And generally they prepare smaller ones, so they're simple just to grab. Looks like they do hot dogs as well. Wow, I'm missing out at my local Magnit. They've got hot dogs available. They also have a coffee machine. Oh, they're really stepping it up. And actually they've got a self-checkout here at the very back of the store. So you can literally pay for your coffee. If you want to grab yourself a candy bar or a snack, And then you can prepare some syrup. You can just pay for your coffee. I think they probably tie it also in with the bakery here. So you can get a pastry and pay for it and then head on out. One thing I will also say, the shop is very spacious and very tidy. Now, of course, it's a brand new store. It's been open a few days. I would expect nothing less. At my local Magnit, this section with all of the kitchen items is almost just piled up. And they don't have any of the hooks left. They don't have any arrangement whatsoever. Here is the pet food section, and very much dominated by cat foods. There's a tiny section for the dogs. And I think most people will recognize Tide and all of the brands for washing and cleaning. Fairy is actually on special. This is our washing up liquid that I'm always buying. And anytime it's under 200 rubles, or about $2, I grab some and take it home. I do have a very interesting fact about Magnit. Now, I wonder how accurate this is around the world beyond Russia. However, this company employs around about 300,000 employees. And I need to look at this little statistic here. It says 78% of the staff that work for this chain of supermarkets are ladies or females. 78%. Now, where you live, is there an overwhelming amount of ladies working at your local supermarket? Let me know in the comments. Of course, the supermarket really has all the standard items and everything that's fairly normal. So all the personal care items, all the cleaning items. There's an aisle here just for the children. And have a look how they put the different little display above it. Built a little castle. And then all of the items for children. They put all of the food and drinks here as well for them. So it's well arranged where they put it all in one place. So it actually kind of reminds you to buy one thing and not have to go look for it somewhere else. The biscuit aisle and all of the cookies and dry biscuits. Very popular in Russia. Let me see if my biscuits are on special. They are. Now, actually, they kind of are. Now, this one is on special. The one I like is the chocolate one. And these wafer chocolates, which are about $1.30 for a pack. I'm not a big fan of the other flavor, but if they're about 100 rubles, they're also coming home with me. They do actually have a small in-house bakery here. So I think some of the pastries and breads are actually baked in store. There is actually the ovens just in the back. It's a little bit hard to see. However, they have the ciabatta loaves and the French sticks. So around about 30 cents for French sticks. And then these little mini loaves are around about 50 cents. And my favorite garlic bread here for about 80 cents. That's the brown bread one. I like the white bread version. And then there is also the social bread here as well, which is around about $1. Actually, the normal bread for about 50 cents for a loaf. And the reason I call it social bread is there's a program in Russia which the government wants the supermarkets to have low-priced items on selected products. And bread is definitely on them, or on the list. Now, that makes sense now where they've got that little coffee machine and self-checkout. They've got a small sitting area here in the back of the supermarket where you can relax and have a coffee. Now, this is completely something I haven't seen before in a Magnit. They even have a microwave over here in the corner. So if you want to warm up some of that ready-made food, you can. And all of the baking and cooking items. So if you want some salt, you know, salt generally comes in a bag and it's about 40 cents. And then sugar cubes, depending on the size you want, is around about $1 or less. So all of the very common things right here. I remember about a year or so ago, I was watching some Western YouTubers who create content about the things that have changed in Russia and all the things that have become not available. And one of the things that someone talked about was the ink for the packaging of these juice containers. And all of them were in white. And it was really for literally a week or two that they had some challenges with the supply chain of the ink. Now, these are actually all Russian-produced brands. Actually, the Dobra Cola, which is very famous now, the company started out making juices, and this is their Dobra brand of juices, which really everybody knows. There is a few other brands that compete with them. I really don't see much of a difference from one to the next. All of the bottled water. And then come around to the cool drinks. The one that I really like at the moment is this mandarin flavored drink. It's very close to Fanta. It actually tastes better than Fanta, I think. That's just my personal opinion, of course. Lay's chips. So they do actually have some beer in here. Not too much, unless I've missed it or haven't seen it. Plenty of cool drinks though. And more smaller size containers of juices. And let's come and have a look at the... So I just had to cut that last part there. The lady actually stopped me to praise me or thank me for making a video about her local supermarket here. Now, with a bit of broken English and broken Russian, we managed to have a nice little conversation. What I wanted to show was the coffee selection and how many choices there were. And I actually just noticed up here the jars of Nutella, which are just about $5 US for a jar. And these are the imported ones. I'm not sure which country, but somewhere in Europe for certain they're coming from. Also got gummy candy right below it. Nutella and Frutella. I wonder if that was done on purpose. And all of the types of coffee. Pretty much every coffee that you see here would be imported, or at least the beans would be. And then they'd be packaged and resold as Russian branded coffees. Of course, there is some imported ones. You can see Lavazza here, fairly well known. And then I know the Law brand down there. These are the coffee pods, which seem to disappear from the shelves in Russia. And they're now magically all here. So there is more than enough choices of the different coffee pods. And then all the different types of coffee. I don't drink coffee at all, personally. My wife does, and we've always got a few different types in the cupboard. One of the things Magnit is very well known for is their pay-by-weight candy. Now, it's pretty common in all supermarkets in Russia, and depending on the size of the store, there'll be more or less choices. But this particular shop has the full aisle of the candies, so there is probably about 100 different choices of them. So you literally just get a bag, put as many or as few as you like in there, and then it's pay by weight. Now they do actually have the regular bagged candy on the top row right here, so if you want a normal bag of them, you can. However, if you want to get a few choices and get a nice selection, you can just get a few. I just noted Twix right here. I'm fairly sure that they're imported Twix and they're not the domestic ones. And then all the chocolates, of course all of the European brands. So again, this store literally opened a couple of days ago. So how do these get here if 1 or 2 years ago they announced they weren't going to be available, or they weren't going to be sending them to Russia? Someone needs to tell me how they're magically on the shelves. So many choices. Again, my local Magnit doesn't have nearly this much of a selection. They have a small refrigerated section here with some beer and cool drinks. And generally when you buy beer in Russian supermarkets, it's all in single packaging. So you can just get one beer and you're good to go. Or if you want to buy more, you just get as many single bottles or cans as you like. Now let's have a look here. This might be an interesting little test of the prices. What I want to point out, and this is quite interesting, and I want to know if this is common where you live in the world. Now there is quite a lot of beer choices, I know that, and there's quite a lot of different prices of beer. And what's interesting here is a fairly classic can of beer for 75 rubles. So it's definitely less than $1 right there. However, if I want the Dobra Cola, which is the Coca-Cola replacement, it's 78 rubles. Now someone needs to tell me the maths that decides that beer is cheaper than sodas. There has to be an answer. Someone let me know in the comments. At the registers, they've got the very typical grab and go candy, chewing gum, chocolate bars, which are the same everywhere in the world. Now you can see pretty much every bar of chocolate, especially all of the foreign brands, are absolutely available. And the only one that's missing, and we've got the same over here, this is the one at the register. And you can see Bounty, Snickers, Mars, Skittles, and they're all available. Now the one that is not here is Kit Kat. And if someone can tell me why Kit Kat is the only chocolate bar I can't buy in Russia, I need to know in the comments what that answer is. The actual replacement for Kit Kat is called Good Mix. Now it does look similar, but it doesn't taste the same. Now I do know that is meant to be the replacement. However, why can I get any chocolate bar in Russia but no Kit Kats? Magnit is also very well known for their beer selection. Now depending on the store you go to, of course, how big it is, and they would actually have an alcohol section right here. Now generally when these stores open, they don't have the full trading license for spirits and some alcohol products, so they've actually put bottled water right here for the time being, and they'll take that away once that license comes through. They do have more beer on this side, and they'll end up putting here spirits like vodka, whiskey, and things like that. And then you can see more choices of beers, and there is quite a lot of choices of them. And if you want things that are bigger than a can or a bottle, you can get them in these plastic containers. Generally they're in 1 liter or 2 liter sizes. So if you're very thirsty, there is lots of types of beer that you can get. A lot of the beers that are imported generally are either German or Dutch or some kind of a European brand of beer. There is also the Italians standing here next to the Mexicans, which is nice. And then I always think this says Acapulco, but it's not. There's no price on the Italian beer either. This is my pet peeve when I come to Magnit, is they're always missing the price tickets. And I think it's every store in Russia. They must have it written into their contract. Make sure you don't have every sign and every price on display. One of the few stores that I've not made a video on this channel about is Magnit's cosmetic stores. And they've opened standalone supermarkets which are only dealing with cosmetics, personal care items, cleaning products, and essentially it's a non-food and drink related store. So if anybody wants to see that tour, I can definitely go and film one. Actually, even where I live, we've got one not too far from my house, but they've got bigger ones and smaller ones. And that's generally why you don't see a large selection of personal care items in a lot of smaller shops in Russia, because people will go to other places to buy their cosmetics or skincare or even things like pharmaceutical items. Another thing I just want to point out as I leave is pretty much the normal registers, and the lady sitting down there, she gets to have a nice comfy chair, and they have actually set up here the self-checkout. And in my local shop they don't have these, so these are all brand new. Not as many people like to use these versus going to the lady. A lot of people, of course, like that personal conversation that you have when you're paying for something. They also have some tables right here at the end, so you can actually sit down and have a drink or something to eat. They've also put the charging sockets here as well, so if you want to plug your phone in to charge. It's even got USB on it. How nice is that? Of course, put some modern features in a supermarket wherever you can. I just noticed on the wall here they've actually got some deals, so you can get coffee and a pastry for 70 rubles, so definitely less than $1. And the hot dogs are right about 100 rubles, so just over $1 for a hot dog. Maybe they're trying to compete with what IKEA used to do and have the inexpensive hot dogs as you leave. As I head on out of Magnit, I really hope you've enjoyed this walk around of a brand new Russian typical supermarket. Now, when I came to Russia 10 years ago, the local Magnit where I live looks exactly like it does today, with no changes. And I really wanted to come to a brand new Magnit location because they do open them throughout Russia. They've got more than 20,000 of these here in Russia somewhere. But it's very rare that you hear about one that's opening new, and not everybody's going to go to an entirely different suburb to find one just because they want to go to a new one like I do. So I really wanted us to get up close and have a nice walk around to see what they're doing to improve supermarket operations in Russia in their stores. And I hope it was a bit of an insight into what a new supermarket looks like as I get a little bit dizzy spinning around here. Yeah, the store was very nice inside, very spacious. Of course, it's been open a few days, so it's going to look nice. But they've got that little cafe area, so if you want to get some food or a coffee and sit down, you can. Now, this shopping center eventually will have a food court on the upper level, and for now, there's only the Russian McDonald's open right here, and a jewelry shop as well. So there will be plenty of place to eat here eventually. And it's not very normal that you sit down and have lunch in a supermarket, especially in a smaller one like Magnit. You pretty much get in there, buy what you want, and get out and go home and spend as little time in a Magnit as possible. But now maybe they're trying to change our opinions of the brand slowly when they're opening new stores. Post a comment, let me know what you think. Is beer cheaper than soft drinks where you live? I'd be very curious to know your answer to that in the comments and why it is cheaper here in Russia. If you want to join me on Telegram, there's a link coming up right now. I post lots of daily photos of my travels in Moscow. And if you want to see an old video on the channel, I'll put another supermarket for you to watch right here, right after this one. Okay, everybody. I'm off on another adventure. Bye.